Hello everyone and welcome to Dragon's Hoard. My name is Rebecca and today we are going to talk about the second installment of a very fun paranormal shifter romance. This is the second installment of Lauren Palphryeman's series. So today we are going to look at The Night Prince. And here on Dragon's Hoard, my videos do have a very specific format that I try to lay them out in, which tends to be cover review, which goes over like the design elements that you can see on the cover, colors, font options, symbolism, motifs, things like that. And then we hit a synopsis. This can either be a brief synopsis or a long one. I usually mention before I start giving the synopsis. After that, we hit my personal thoughts and opinions on this book or whatever book I'm reviewing at the time. From my thoughts and opinions, sometimes I will hit either a highlights for very special quotes or scenes in the book that I think were just phenomenal. Then we'll hit magic system, if I would recommend this book, what audience I would recommend this book to, and even if I'm going to consider continuing this series or not. So that is the general idea of the formatting that I have for my book reviews. If in any case you get bored at some point with whatever I'm talking about, like you don't want to hear about what I thought about the cover and the design elements and all of that stuff, just skip ahead. Everything will be timestamped down below, so you can just skip to the synopsis or just like my thoughts and opinions, which is where my ratings are for the book. And thank you for being here. So now let's jump into that first little section, which will be the cover review. In The Night Prince, just like book one, The Wolf King, we have a solid background, but this time it is a dark royal blue, and the font is done in the same style. It's retaining its attention-pulling size, the shape, the color. It's very domineering and formal. And our main motif on this cover is once again a wolf head. However, this time instead of being like a face on, a full face view, we have a profile view to the side, and it looks like it's metalwork. It looks like it could possibly be done with the idea of a cloak pin. It looks like underneath it has some Celtic knots worked into the design, so it's like ruined details. It looks like it has Celtic knots as details within the wolf's face as well. And just like last time, we still have the red berries on the cover, but this time some of them are darker and there are blue flowers intermixed with it. And the last thing that we have that draws our attention is an oversized oxidized chain that's running through and intertwining with the motif. I do also find this cover of The Night Prince to be very visually pleasing in itself, but not quite to the same degree as I found book one's cover. Book one's cover was top tier. It does still manage to stick to the themes of our story, and the title itself sticks to the theme of the story, so everything just flows very well. It draws our attention in. The motif stands out against the dark background and is framed by these berries, so that's also drawing us in not only to the motif but also to the title of the book. And overall, I gave this cover a 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, now we're going to jump into our synopsis, and book 2, The Night Prince, does an excellent job of picking up right where we left off with book 1. So in book 1, we got to a certain point and now we're just picking up right off the bat with that. In this book, we do continue to follow Callum and Blake and Aurora as they're preparing not only for a full moon that's quickly approaching, but also they are preparing for an oncoming battle. And as they're preparing for this battle, they're trying to recruit outlying clans to back Callum up against their enemies. And Blake, of course, is just being Blake. He is devious and cunning and of course up to no good. But overall, with his interactions, I do love his interactions with Aurora. The only thing is, I feel like we didn't get enough interactions between him and Aurora in this installment. I feel like we could have gotten more, so that did leave me a little sad. And in this installment, we do get some more world building. So in book 1, we didn't get that much world building. In this book, we do get more world building, so we have a better idea of what's going on or where we're at, what we're looking at as far as that goes. It is more extensive but not complicated. And then we also do get a little bit of the lore about the moon goddess, as well as Night and the followers of Night, and what makes them such bad news. And as we progress through the story, we learn things about Aurora. It's kind of like a self-discovery journey, because Aurora figures out what she wants to be, and of course is beginning to explore a new bond between herself and Blake. Eventually, some bad stuff happens and she's kidnapped and is taken to some of Night's zealots, where they begin to perform a ritual with her before her knight in shining armor shows up to save the day. But it turns out these acolytes, they have something powerful in their possession, and they try to overtake the wolves with it. However, the wolves, they have something that's even more powerful than what Knight's acolytes have. So the plot just continues to thicken. It keeps rolling until we are certain that Aurora is going to do something reckless, because that's what Aurora does. She does reckless things. And she discovers an even bigger threat than the threat that we originally started this book with. She does save Blake from certain death, but then we're left once again on another cliffhanger, waiting for book 3 to be released. So I know I did stray a little bit from like the general synopsis of what goes on in this book because I had so many ideas and thoughts going through my head. I couldn't just write a normal synopsis. I don't know. I was squirrel brain. All right, so now we're just gonna go over my additional thoughts and opinions since I already gave some of them like in the synopsis. I'm sorry. So overall, I did really enjoy this story. It was good fun with plot twists and some intricate foreshadowing. The world building was more fleshed out. We got a better picture of what's going on. The character development was also included in this book. Character relationships themselves developed a bit more. And then some of the character development that we do see in this book actually changes our perspective on certain characters and the original opinions that we may have had on them in the first book. For example, their motives for how they do things and why they do them. Even though we did have all of these improvements in book 2 and just seeing more development characters and the setting, we did have to sacrifice some things. We had to sacrifice a little bit of the spice, so book 2 is actually not as spicy as book 1 was. And that's okay. I was fine with that because it did help build the story more. I'm not mad about it. I just wanted to give that observation. But with the anticipation for book 3, I am hoping that it completely surpasses book 1 and 2. And we finally get to see Rory get exactly what she's craving. I know in book 1 I mentioned that Blake is my favorite character. He's still my favorite character in book 2. That doesn't change. But Claire is a close second. And I also hope to see so much more of her in book 3. So overall, for book 2, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And yes, I am ranking book 2 higher than I ranked book 1 because it is just that much better. It is so good. In quality, this book is superior to book 1. And as I said, the spice actually went down in this book. Even though I am rating the book itself higher, the spice is now a 2 out of 5 chilies. So I had book 1 at 3 out of 5 chilies. Now we've gone down to 2 out of 5. I know it's not that big of a difference, but if you read both of these installments, then you will notice it. I promise. I found it totally worth it. The trade-off was phenomenal. I can't wait to get my hands on book 3. So now we're just going to jump into the magic system a little bit, and the magic system in this world really isn't that complicated. And we still focus on the idea of the wolf shifters. They can only shift during the full moon. So the magic itself, it still focuses around werewolf lore. But in this installment, we have fleshed out the moon goddess a bit more and why wolves cannot shift when the moon is not full or is absent from the sky in general. We also learn more about what the series is calling the heart of the moon and why exactly everyone wants it, because that was a big thing in book 1 is the heart of the moon and everybody wants it and everybody's fighting, but we didn't really understand why. It goes over why they want it and what importance it holds in this installment. And the whole reason that they all want what is the heart of the moon is because with it, if they have the heart of the moon, then the wolves will be able to shift whenever they want. And when it comes to Knight and his acolytes, if Knight's acolytes manage to get their hands, their grubby little grabbers, onto the heart of the moon, then they'll be able to free him. So that's a big no-no. Now, will I be reading the next book? Yes, I will be picking up The Wolf Queen after it comes out. I'm looking forward to continuing the series. I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see how Blake and Aurora's relationship continues to develop. I'm a little iffy about Callum right now. Like, he does some things that I find distasteful. So that is what I'm looking for in book 3. I also can't wait to see what happens with Aurora in general. Is she going to be the Wolf Queen, or is it Claire? Is it someone else? So many questions that need answers. So things are getting intense. Will I recommend this book? Yes, I do recommend this series, but I only recommend it if you like shifter and paranormal romance. There are open door scenes. There is no nodding. Okay, so this is a good one if you want to read shifter and paranormal romance, but you don't want to come across that. There is no nodding in book 1 or 2. There is a mention of a mate bond, and the spice itself, it's nothing like super out there, but still, there is a mate bond, so that is a trope in here. And then, of course, considering it is a shifter and paranormal romance, I would highly recommend that you check any trigger warnings because there is like blood and gore, there's fighting, some death, so please be advised, check that out before you jump into this series. Are there any similar reads that I have to this particular series? The only one that I would have right now would be Fated to the Wolf Prince, and this is also a shifter paranormal romance. It does focus mainly on mate bonds, so it's not as politically intrigued as the Wolf King and the Wolf Prince until you get further into the series. that's the only one that I really have right now. And before we end this review, I do just want to go over some of my favorite highlight moments. So here we are seeing an interaction between Aurora and Blake, and Aurora is just fed up. So she tells him, "Fine. Well done. You have succeeded at being the singularly most irritating male I've ever encountered. Go and congratulate yourself elsewhere." And Blake replies to her, "It's my castle. You're welcome to leave if my presence bothers you so much." So they're both sassy. All right, everyone, and that brings us to the end of our review of The Night Prince by Lauren Palphryeman. I hope you had a good time here. I hope this inspires you to read some paranormal or shifter romance, or just pick something up in general and read it. If you enjoy my content, then please hit that like and subscribe button down below. That way you'll be brought back and we can talk about more books. If you have any recommendations or anything like that, then please feel free to leave it in the comments. Or if you would like to see a review about a certain book, then just let me know. I would be delighted. All right, and until next time, bye.